There are a handful of camera brands out there that exist outside the conventional consumer, prosumer, or even professional tagline. These are the brands reserved for the camera purists, built and designed for the artist. Leica is one that most of us probably know already. Hasselblad as well, the brand that NASA used for the first photos on the moon. And of course, the big dog, the Phase 1. Now, but I believe cameras are just tools, and anything you can do on a rig worth $100,000, you can do on one worth $2,500. Which is exactly what I'm going to be doing today with my Sony A7IV, and I'll be teaching you how to do it too. The idea for this week's upload came to me when I was watching an old Peter McKinnon video. You see, Peter has this friend called Peter Andrew, and he shoots some pretty cool shit. The world of macro photography was something that I thought was all about capturing insects and putting them on pins, but Andrew's work was different, and it did something to me that not a whole lot of photography can do. It got me excited. I knew I had to try this style for myself, but Andrew shoots on a Phase 1. How could I ever hope to get even a fraction of the same result with my little Sony A7IV? Alright, well maybe I can't do a one-to-one replica, but I know photo stuff. I've done this for years. Surely I can figure out a way to get like 85–90% of the way there, right? And if I'm doing that anyways, I figured why not try and make this a tutorial video? Because let me tell you, super macro photography tutorials are pretty niche, even on YouTube. Most of the best tips I got for this video were from those insect photographers, which I will link to below if you want to go down the same rabbit holes I did, but hopefully this video can help you enter the world of macro for yourself. Just make sure to stick around until the end, because I will show you a very special tool to get more than 2 times magnification without even owning a macro lens, and all for less than $100. All right, let's break it down. The very first thing we're going to need are light stands, just like this. The next thing we're going to need is a ring light, just like this. Not crucial, but really helps when you're trying to focus with a manual lens. But we are also going to need some flashes, so I am going to get my Godox V1 and my Godox AD200 Pro. And if we are using off-camera flash, we will also need a transmitter, the Godox X3S, because it's Sony, or a lot of people put it this way, it says X. Obviously, we are going to need a camera. This is the A7 III. I will not be using this camera, it is for visual purposes only. I will be using my Sony A7 IV, which is currently recording me. A very important thing for macro photography like we're doing now is a tripod. I'm using the Peak Design aluminum tripod because I have no fiscal responsibility. Any tripod will do. Finally, the last 2 things we're going to need if we want to make this shot work are the lens, the Lowy 25mm f2.8 ultra macro lens, which goes from a 2x zoom all the way to a 5x zoom, and a macro adjustment slider. This thing is crucial, and because we don't have a 100 grand setup, we are going to be doing it manually. And I guess that's it. I'm sure there is something I forgot, but I will show you it when it's all set up, which we're going to go do right now. So the first thing we really want to make sure we do is set up the focusing to manual focus. Easy, because this lens only has manual focus. And we want to use our little adapter here, our micro slider adjustment, to get the furthest focus point back from the camera. I'm doing that with focus peaking. You can kind of see it here, the reds. I'll show you an actual photo of what it looks like. And once we have that, we want to make sure it is the absolute furthest possible focus point from the back. We start taking a photo. And then you repeat that for everything that is currently in frame on this part of the subject until you have got absolutely everything in focus. So when the likes of Peter Andrew is doing this style of shoot, he has big robots and fancy software with external autofocusing systems, identifying and mapping the different focus planes of the object, doing all automated micro adjustments to make sure absolutely nothing is missed. And before the haters come for me, I know the Sony A7 IV has gotten an update with focus bracketing, but that won't work when the lens is manual. So for now, I'm stuck focusing the old-fashioned way. And once you have everything on the X-axis captured, everything in frame, again, back to front, front to back, it doesn't actually really matter. You do the really fun thing that you wouldn't have to do if you had a $100,000 setup, but alas, I have to do it. You manually lower the tripod. And this is where it gets really exciting and fun, because one small move can mess this whole thing up. But hey, that's the price we pay for not spending 100 grand on camera equipment, right? So we're going to lower it down using the same principle that we had with the last shot where we went left to right, leaving a little bit in frame that we can use in the post-production process later to make sure that the software can find out where we're picking up from. And once again, rinse and repeat. Okay, I think I have everything. I think I have shot this coin in every axis imaginable. So in theory, we should be good. Now, top tip, learn from my mistakes. When you think you are done, instead of taking everything down and rejoicing, just grab your card, throw it into the laptop and your editing software, just to make sure everything is in focus. You have everything you need, because the minute you take everything down and find out that there is a little bit that you missed, that's going to hurt. I, however, am not going to take my own advice. So let's see how this goes. So the very first thing you're going to do is get all your raw files from camera and load them into your editing software. I am using Lightroom because I need to make it work with Photoshop as well. File management is a pretty crucial part for everyone to keep their sanity for this kind of project. So what I'm going to do is grouping each frame that has all our photos in it at the varying focal distances with a very specific tag, so I know at all times what is meant to go together. Here I'm putting the first grouping as just a red color tag. Then I'm going to make some general adjustments, things like exposure, contrast, maybe some temperature tweaks, and sync those adjustments to every photo so each grouping of photo looks the same, so all the photos look the same. From there, I'm going to export my grouped photos into Photoshop, and this is where I have to eat some humble pie. Despite the fact I thought every photo I took had something in focus, a few of these shots are actually just blurry. So I'm going to go through each grouping and pick out only the photos that have something in focus. Otherwise, Photoshop is going to get confused later on. Once you've selected which photos in your group have something in focus, I recommend clicking Photo at the top before going to Edit In and selecting Edit in Photoshop as Layers. Once everything has been loaded in, select all your layers, click Edit at the top, and then on Auto Align Layers. Once we have that, we're then going to click on Auto Blend Layers. We're going to click on Stack Images and unclick, if it is clicked, Generative Fill, and let Photoshop do its magic, leaving us with something like this. Now you might have noticed that it is a bit soft around the edges here and here, but if you have followed along and kept some of the coin from this frame in your next frame, then that shouldn't be an issue at all. Once you've done that, you can save the file, which exports it automatically back to Lightroom, as a new image, and mark that new image with a separate tag so you don't lose it. And then you repeat this process for every grouped set of photos you shot. Okay, so now that we have all of our photos in focus and looking sharp, it is time to turn it into one big picture, hopefully to print. So what we want to do now is we want to export these images out. For the sake of file sizes, I'm going to export out in JPEG at 80% quality, which will still be massive file sizes because of the amount of photos we've grouped together. and I'm going to put them all into one folder just to make it easy for the final assembly. What we're going to do is we're going to click File and scroll all the way down to Automate and click on Photo Merge. Then we're going to go back to the folder where we've just exported out all of our grouped photos into individual files, and we're going to ingest them all in a Photoshop. So this next bit is really crucial and is the difference between having a good photo and a great photo. Once Photoshop has done its automation magic, inevitably there will be some issues with the photo. Things that don't quite line up or look a little bit off, and this is your chance as the artist to go back in and do what I like to call the cleanup. Obviously the biggest thing that is going to need cleaning up is the screwdriver head that is holding up my coin, so I'm using the pen tool to make a selection. From there I'm going to use the content aware fill tool and outline the parts I want to sample in green so that I can make it look like the screwdriver was never there in the first place. Once that is done, I use a mixture of the heal and the clone tool to clean up any weird lines or discoloration. Now, full disclosure, I'm not a massive fan of generative AI. Anyone who's watching my videos will probably already know that. I like to use the spot tool, the heal tool, the clone tool, and some creative dodging and burning to make my photos pop a little bit more. But to each their own. This is a tutorial. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. Now finally, you are going to want to fix that background. Unfortunately, my screen recording has messed up at this point, so I'll have to talk you through it. In short, I made a series of selections, used content aware fill to create more of the missing background, and then used a background mask with some curve adjustment layers to make it look like a crisp white, allowing our coin to pop. And that is it. You have your super crispy image. Now, this is perfect to post to Instagram and get all those likes, and people go, oh my God, how'd you do that? But if you want to take it a step further and really embody that Peter Andrew vibe, you're going to need to print this out. And that is exactly what I did, and this is it right here in my hand, which I have yet to open up, so I'm not 100% sure how it turned out. But before we get to this, I have a promise to keep. The setup I use in this video isn't $100,000, but it definitely isn't the cheapest way you can try out macro photography. So if you are interested in trying this out for yourself and you don't want to break the bank, then I recommend this. The Raynox DCR 250 Super Macro Snap-on Lens. This little device can clip on a lot of lenses and give you 2.5 times magnification, all for about $100 Canadian. Another great thing is, in theory, I should still be able to use my camera's autofocus capabilities, which means I can use some focus bracketing and some similar software that Peter Andrew uses to help with his shoots. Look, to be honest, I don't really know how I feel about that. I may be a sadist, but I kind of enjoyed the manual process of taking the photo. It made me feel more connected to the camera than just spraying and praying with my finger held down. So, yeah, maybe that's just me. Either way, this device could be the intro you need to macro photography before you commit to some big, expensive macro-specific lenses. Anywho's, I have rambled long enough. It is time to show you the final photo. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Did I hit that 85 to 90%? Just remember, I am but a fragile man-child, so please tread carefully. Okay, here we go. Well, I can kind of see it, but is it working? Does it look good? Does it look good? Ha ha!